Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today I wanted to make another of the few follow-up videos I had in mind to the huge Division Day event this past week where we got insight into the entire future of the Division franchise. I already made a video recapping all of the new information we got on the Division Heartland. I will pin that in the upper corner in case you missed it. But today I want to talk about some of the news that we got for the Division 2, that being in Year 5 Season 2, Incursions are returning to the franchise. If you don't know what those are, don't worry, we're going to get into all of it, but in short, they were an endgame activity from back in the Division 1, a beloved activity at that, so needless to say, myself and a lot of other vets are very excited for this. If you end up enjoying the video, a like would be greatly appreciated, and be sure to click that subscribe button as well as turning on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on my future Year 5 coverage. Without further ado, let's get into this. Alright. Incursions. They're coming back. Let's start with a quick breakdown of what exactly these activities were in the Division 1, as while there is no guarantee this new one in the Division 2 will be identical, the fact that they're using the same name indicates that it's likely to be pretty similar. In the Division 1, Incursions were a high-end 4-player endgame activity, offering an experience right in between a main mission and a raid as we've come to know them in the Division 2, where they did have mechanics, but they weren't so involved or so complex that it wasn't impossible to do them without a pre-made group. And oftentimes, Incursions focused much more heavily on the combat side of things in addition to just the mechanics, sending waves of high-level NPCs at you in all directions. It's also important to note that the 4 incursions we had in the Division 1 differed from each other quite a bit, where the very first one we got was quite light on mechanics, and it just had a 15-wave holdout structure instead, compared to the last one we got where it had very refined and specific fight mechanics. This involves stuff like moving in and out of a water-filled arena to avoid getting an electrical surge, shooting an enemy at the right time as he went to take out a hostage, using a bulwark shield to block turret fire, things like that. As time went on and the devs added more incursions to the game, they became more refined and more advanced, similar to how Iron Horse is, I would say, a more refined and advanced version of a raid compared to Dark Hours in the Division 2. So given we are now 7 years into the franchise, I'd say it's likely that this new incursion will follow up on the legacy of all the past incursions and raids that we've gotten, and have some very well thought out, well constructed mechanics and encounters, which is super exciting. Let's talk about what information we fully know about this upcoming incursion. I'll put a picture at the one glimpse we got of it up on screen. As I said, this is coming in Year 5 Season 2, which based off of Season 1's June release date, I would place that right around September. And in the words of the Division Day's host, he said, "We will be venturing out to the Merit Estate to confront the cleaners." The photo for Year 5 Season 2, I would say, is almost certainly a look at this Merit Estate location, given it's entirely on fire, and I have to say, absolute 1-2 combo for getting me hooked on this premise. The cleaners are my favorite faction, so that's a win, and just basing it off of the name alone, Merit Estate very much gives me a Kenley College, Camp White Oak type of vibe, which is some of my favorite terrain to explore and fight in the Division, those more suburban, secluded areas, so I'm very excited to get a glimpse at what this thing is going to look like. At this point, it's hard to speculate on anything specific we might see, but we know that historically, incursions are 4-player activities, and I fully expect them to continue that trend. They want to involve as many people as possible these days, and making this 4-player content instead of 8 just makes much more sense. I think they will strike a good balance between making it challenging, making it a worthwhile experience, but as I mentioned earlier, still possible to do with a match-made team if everybody is prepared and at least has a rough idea of what's going on. But yeah, cleaners in the countryside, I expect to see some fiery hallway fights, courtyard, RC bomb explosions. The last cleaner incursion in Div 1 that we had a fire truck final boss with a massive flamethrower attached to the top of it. So I am very, very eager to see what's in store for their take on things in Division 2, and just to comment on the presence of incursions in Year 5 of Div 2, I think it's a good move on Massive's part. I've said this in some videos recently, but with the arrival of Descent, we will now have 4 distinct and different game modes in the Division 2. It's probably a good time to take a break from adding more. So I think beefing up the endgame with the introduction of incursions is brilliant. It pleases the raid crowd as it's similar enough content, albeit with 4 players instead of 8, and also it pleases the non-raid crowd because everybody who's complained that they always need 8 people and that it doesn't have matchmaking, they can play this. So if they strike a good balance in between here, I could see this incursion being super popular, super successful, and we'll see if we get any more later on down the line once that DLC drops in Season 4. Still so much to talk about with that, we're going to cover it in another video soon, but But my friends, that is about all I have for you today regarding the upcoming incursion in the Division 2. The revered mode from the original Division is returning, seems like it has an awesome premise, and I think it has a lot of potential. But of course, I want to hear all of your guys' thoughts. What was your reaction to hearing about incursions coming to the Division 2? If you played them in Div 1, are you excited for them to return? And for anybody who never played Division 1, how interested are you based off of what you heard in this video? Whatever your thoughts are on those or anything else we discussed, I will as always be super curious to read your guys' responses. I very much hope you enjoyed this video, and that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.